to In Our Humble Opinion.
Aiyo.
Right?
Yes. I'm Gilbert Cheah. I'm here with my two co-conspirators, Chris Henson on my right and Daisy Irani on my left.
Namaste.
Today we're going to talk about basically one main topic only, and that is the controversy that has been erupting around the election time about call-out culture and social justice warriors who have been reporting on old Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook posts from different parties. Raeesah Khan from the Workers' Party was reported for some of her posts in the past, and Xiaxue, who is the blogger, was reported then by some other people for her posts in the past. So we're going to talk about that today and share our humble opinions about it. So, shall we start? Chris Henson.
Wow, why me? Why always me? It's always me. No? Always this kind of thing.
It's great to have you start and we all can jump in. Or jump on.
Jump on me, more likely. I am not their co-conspirator. I am the co-perspirator.
Oh. Yeah.
Hello, sense of humor a bit like yours. Okay. What's this called? Call out?
Look at his arms.
Yeah. I'm shocked, I'm so worried I'm going to be called out for having such big arms with that
And
huge
obscene
ink.
tattoos, or what those tattoos say?
Hey, you want to know? Really? You want to go there? Okay, actually, I did mention this last week in my last couple of shoots ago. It's three cultures on this, man.
Wow.
I called out three cultures.
Call.
I called out three cultures and put them on my sleeve. So I've got Tongan, and I've got Mayan, and I've got Celtic. Why? Because I believe people should be together. People should be united. People shouldn't be called out for all kinds of crap.
Very good.
It truly is me.
Yeah.
And,
But stop. Why Mayan and Celtic and something closer to home, like
because I like the
Indian
design.
culture,
That one is just
Malay
simply,
culture.
So it's
that one is simply vanity lah.
Okay.
Yo. Not that I don't know why Gilbert had mentioned about the size of my arms though, but since you brought it up.
No, but interestingly enough, I mean, just as a quick aside, there could be people who will call you out for cultural appropriation, saying that you're carrying,
Not that too, man.
Yeah.
You know what else? I think they can call me out also because for using a particular brand of microphone.
And which brand is that one? Which
you see
brand?
This is a Shure SH55.
But that's the one that you like.
That's the
why
one
you
I
put it.
love. Yeah. I have two of these microphones.
That's amazing.
And
I hope they paid you for that.
But that's the thing.
Product endorsement.
That's the thing. They didn't pay me for it. Is one thing, but they might just call me out for just using it without their
Other brands might call you out.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. But the thing is that calling out people, I mean, it's got the things. We're just talking nonsense.
Yes, we're talking nonsense. Yes.
Yeah, but calling people
seriously,
out.
yeah.
If you have your own personal agendas and you're calling people out, I mean, that's crap, right? Especially if it's been taken. If people said something some time ago, and then you resurrect it towards what end, And I think this is akin to persecution, if you ask me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daisy?
Well, for me, I think there's call-out culture, and then we've got the cancel culture.
They
The
tend to go
cancel,
together, though.
yes.
Yeah.
But let's say the call-out culture was a bit before the cancel culture. The way I look at it is, way back, cancel culture started in a very jocular manner in the whole African-American, the milieu, in the social media at that time. And it was supposed to be fun. It was supposed to be very, without any malice. It was supposed to be, okay, there's Coke and there's Pepsi, and you know what, I really don't like Coke, so I'm going to cancel it. As simple as that. And then now you see, over the past couple of years, especially starting from 2015, that the call-out culture where basically you didn't like what somebody did and you were upset with it, and you wanted to show that no, this is incorrect, this is insensitive, or basically, I don't like this. You went into calling out the person and saying, I'm not going to talk to you, I'm going to tell my friends, they're not going to talk to you. And now it's gone and rolled out into what we now know as cancel culture, which is a different level altogether.
Yeah.
Because now you're looking at, oh my God, I am the person who created you as a celebrity. I was the one who endorsed you. And now I don't like what you have said. I'm going to be the jury, I'm going to be the judge, and I'm going to be the hangman. And you know what? I'm not going to let you get away with something that I don't like, and therefore I'm going to cancel you. And so now the point is this cancel culture just mob mentality? Or are we looking at using that as the power of speaking the truth?
Don't you guys find this very scary? Because, you know, for example, a couple of episodes ago, we were talking about people who snitch on others during the circuit breaker. Do you remember that one?
Yep.
And then now, are we escalating things in society to now this call out on and cancel culture? From snitching on others and moving up to this is not an upgrade, man. To me, this is a downgrade.
Let me say a couple of things. But the way I see it is that what happened in Singapore, I think the people who did it, obviously politically motivated. The people who called out Raeesah Khan of the Workers' Party were obviously not Workers' Party supporters and had to do some work to go and dig up some of the posts. So obviously it was a clear political intent there. I don't think that many of the people in Singapore who were doing this were even thinking about the reference of call-out culture or cancel culture. It's just that because they did it, and then when you analyze it, you can say that, okay, this looks like it's call-out culture or cancel culture. And obviously the people who then went after Xiaxue, because she is a well-known PAP supporter, were people who were taking revenge on what had happened to Raeesah. So I think that's very politically motivated. In the US, though, this big movement of going through people's old tweets and all of that has become a big thing. And, you know, there are pluses and minuses to this, because I think sometimes if you find something that someone said in the past that is really egregious, that shows their real personality, you know, there's something to be said about sitting up and taking notice, whether you are saying, okay, I want to cancel you by not supporting you anymore, or whatever it is. I think there's something to be said about that, but I think that it can also go overboard. And I actually want to read a quote here, because someone who I personally admire very much addressed this, and it was actually a very big surprise when he addressed it, because everyone thought that this person of all people would support the call out and the cancel culture and being woke, you know, this term that they call we are being woke,
wokeism,
right?
wokeism.
Right? And the person who said this is actually President Barack Obama.
Yes.
And he said, basically, he says, I get a sense sometimes among certain young people, and this is accelerated by social media, that they have a sense of saying, this way of me making change is to be as judgmental as possible about other people. And then that's enough. Like he said, if I tweet or hashtag about how you didn't do something right or you used the wrong verb, then I can sit back and feel pretty good about myself because, man, you see how woke I was? I called you out. And he said this, he said, that's not activism. That's not about bringing about change, he said. If all you're doing is casting stones, you're probably not going to get that far.
Yes.
That's easy to do. And I really agree with him, because I think that, you know, in the wake of Black Lives Matter and in the wake of a lot of wokeness in the US, which has spread around the world, I think that, you know, people have become woke, all right? So they say, okay, you know, I want to be part of this movement. I'm enlightened. But I think that you need to do this smartly. I think you need to educate yourself first, get your facts right, be informed and not just opinionated. I think that's very important.
But you know, Gilbert, you're right about Barack Obama saying this. I think it's important when you talk about activism, how different it is from just a cancel culture. I don't like this, I'm going to cancel, because that is a mob mentality. And you're absolutely right. One has to be responsible. Okay, if you're looking at having a cancel culture for people who are really dangerous, let us say like the Harvey Weinstein of the world or the Bill Cosbys of the world, or like you correctly mentioned, Chris, you're talking about how Me Too started and that really pushed it. Okay, that's different. But let's assume that you're using this cancel or call out culture for every small little thing, pulling out these old things for a Jimmy Kimmel or a Jimmy Fallon and talking about. That one mistake can cost you your entire career. And then, is that what you want? Because you see, what happens is you want people to really understand that they did something wrong and they are willing to change.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
how do you get about
engagement
change?
is so important.
Correct.
Meaning
So-
that, if you see something that someone else has done or said
Correct.
that's wrong, and you engage them,
Right,
and
but
they apologize and they sincerely want to.
Correct. So I'm talking about the good side. That if call out culture is used in a way where you call out somebody, but when that person understands
Yes.
their mistake, they apologize, you gratefully accept that, and you move on. At least you have helped a real change instead of getting all crazy and saying cancel this and cancel that. And you know what? Lots of celebrities, when you show the power and say, power of social media, I'm going to cancel you. A lot of the celebrities, like Kevin Hart or whether it's Taylor Swift, have actually come back. And that's when you know there are enough people out there who understand and they do also empathize with the victim,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
It
the
can
other side.
definitely go overboard, and I think mob mentality is very dangerous. Whichever side of the political spectrum that you're on, basically, whether you are against Xiaxue or you're against Raeesah Khan, I think that there can be a lot of danger if you are not looking past who these people are and what their intentions are. I think that's very important.
I think a lot of this discussion that you're talking about Xiaxue or about Raeesah, I think it's also, okay, with her they pulled out the old posts and then
Yes.
Xiaxue had to explain what she did. But I think a lot of that is also sensational, a tad of it. Because that's what keeps the fire going
Yes.
at a time like this. Do you think so,
Yeah,
Chris?
what do you think, Chris? You mean very silent that we're worried.
No, I'm
He's
just listening to the
thinking.
two of you guys.
Yes.
To be fair, I read what Xiaxue, is that how I pronounce her name? Xiaxue, yes.
Yes.
What she wrote. I read the whole thing.
Yeah, I did too.
And
No, I didn't. It's a
Okay.
tad too long.
there were certain parts of what she wrote that I felt
Well,
do
honest.
make some sense. Wait,
Yeah.
hang on. I'm not talking about the stuff that stood out, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And I think some parts of what she wrote is kind of applicable across the board, across to everyone in community and society. People use this platform, social media, to glorify themselves. I spotted this, as you said. I bring it out into the open, and now I'm going to be that activist, and I'm going to knock this down. And they feel so good about it. They feel I've done something
Yes.
righteous.
Yes.
But then again, but she did say that, I mean, not in the way I've expressed it.
Yeah.
But I want to say that I think what we're missing today is this good old-fashioned, very basic thing called values.
Mm-hmm.
And when people start to have this warped mentality about values through this newfangled term, call me a fuddy-duddy or a damn boomer, which I am not. They call it wokeism. I call it bullshit. Why? Because if you think that being woke is that you have a sense of right and wrong, you're wrong. Because the fundamental value in all values would be this thing called forgiveness. If someone had made a mistake, as you said rightly, and said, I'm sorry, and that mistake was done before,
Yeah.
cast ye not the bloody first stone.
Correct.
Okay,
And that's,
very important
that's
point.
what
but,
we all
but in the case of Xiaxue, if you actually read what she said, she's not apologizing at all.
At all.
She's
She's
doubling
like,
down.
yeah.
No, I'm not saying
Yes,
she apologized.
yes,
I'm not
yes.
referring to her about
okay,
apology.
okay.
No,
yeah.
but you know,
I wasn't referring to
but
her.
Chris,
Okay,
we all
yeah.
we are agreed on that.
Yeah.
That there is a point where you call out somebody,
Yes.
if that person understands, moves on,
Yes, and then you
apologizes.
get off it.
But
Yeah,
then
basically.
there is a point of going overboard, which
Yes.
is usually what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
And then that's when the mob mentality comes
And I think
in.
part of the mob mentality is really from a sense of rage, especially in the US,
Frustration.
of powerlessness and of anger. So I can understand that part of that. With regard to the Xiaxue thing, within the local context, I think that there is okay. So basically, for those of you who have not read it, one of the things that she talked about in her explanation or her response is that she wasn't calling out a particular race when she used the term Banglas. She was talking about nationality, and she talked about how when she was younger and a young girl, she got
played
molested, and all of
She
this.
was the victim.
She was the victim, and therefore she gets angry at these people and all that, which is okay. That's
but
fine.
that's what you're saying.
Yes.
It comes out of a different place.
Yes, it comes
the
from
anger,
rage.
the
But
frustration,
I like
the
to say
rage.
this is that calling out someone because of their nationality is not any more correct than calling them out because of their race, basically. So you can't say that, I didn't criticize a whole race, I criticized a nationality. That's just as wrong, you know? I think that, for example, if you were, let's say, I don't know, a Singaporean in Malaysia, and some Singaporeans did something wrong, and then a lot of Malaysians start saying, these bloody Singaporeans, everything, you will feel angry because, come on, not all Singaporeans are doing this. Some of them are doing this. The same thing with the Bangladeshis. And how do you know they're Bangladeshis? Could they not be people from India? Could they not be people from, Pakistan? Very often South Asians are all confused
but
together
anyway,
as
you
well.
should not be generalizing.
Exactly.
You know,
That's the thing that she did.
I'm not gonna talk about that bit of it. Yeah, but I would like to say though that on the other hand, we shouldn't have people who've read what she wrote go all the way out to tell clients to pull out. You know what I mean?
Well,
I mean, that
I
doesn't
think
make
that-
them any
But
better.
correct. But you
as
see,
well.
Chris,
But-
you're right.
yeah.
This is what we call about the power of the mentality of the mobs. So
I think the
basically,
crux of the issue here is that.
how do I show that me as a social media person has got power? You know what? I was the one who created you.
Sure, but
I will
that
bring
is
you
often
down.
the only recourse they have is to
Correct.
actually
But
target the people
you
who are
see,
giving money.
Gilbert, that
Right.
was when sometimes
Especially if the person is not apologetic.
correct, but sometimes when it started and if kept in proper check and if done thoughtfully and responsibly, it does have a place.
Yes.
Because when you see a young person or an old person or any person who looks at the powerful, looks at the rich, in many countries especially, most of them, and you realize that this rich and powerful person will not bear the consequences of the wrong he has done.
Yep.
And the frustration makes you use the
Yes.
only tool you have.
That is
because you
dangerous.
want
Yeah.
justice.
But it's dangerous.
Correct.
Absolutely.
But that's when you're talking about where does it stop being real? Many protests. Okay, let me share with you. Now, in India, when there was a whole case of Nirbhaya, the girl who got raped, people have never seen this kind of. It became practically from social media. It became a revolution because years and years of seeing the powerful or the rich, rape taking place, nobody bearing the consequences. It is at that time that people power comes to play.
Yep.
Now, that is irony and that is life, and that same people power, that same thing can be used in an adverse way when
sure.
taken to the
Yes.
extreme. you
Yes,
see.
like Arab Spring.
Correct.
You know, I mean that it doesn't mean that it looks good. I mean, the whole position of it sounds like is right, but then again, the things that happened when these things were going on, there were things that happened that's completely wrong. However, that being said, these people who write, based on what I've read from her blog, Xiaxue, is people who write in to say stop funding her, clients stop funding her, doing business with her. You know what? In my mind, why this is happening is because this the same thing has happened to Facebook, right? You've had companies, big boys, big clients who pulled out of Facebook. So when people see this happening, they think, hey, you know what? We can do this
But that's
too.
a tactic that's been used for a
correct.
very long time.
Correct. Now,
it's not
just-
just
No, but
recently.
right now,
okay, just to give-
wokeism, people have woken up to it
But
because it's so
regardless of the
recent.
reason
I want to
for
I want to
recent.
ask your opinion on this. So you have somebody as famous, as talented like Tiger Woods. Okay, it happened a while back, and then he does what he did, which is a story that everybody knows, and he was having sexual encounters, or he had affairs while he was married, and
yes.
and then people awoke, or in those days it was called the call-out culture, or whatever.
Yeah, but that was
But
different.
my
though.
question is,
Yeah.
you see, would it have made as much an impact on him if his sponsors, or where it really hurt, they did not call off or they did not leave him? So then again, we go back to what is the cause of people turning around and saying, you know, the sponsor, you, the person who's giving
Simply
money,
because
stop.
that is the best way to get people's attention.
Correct. And then now you see a change and people have accepted him back. So what I'm trying to say is these, of course, taken to another level.
Yeah, but in his case,
but there
it's
are
different,
tools
though.
that are used.
Yeah.
No, I'm just talking about and giving an example of how sometimes, because Chris was talking about the clients, you think anybody is going to really get as affected if nothing in their life is going to change?
Obviously, yes. I think that, you know, to put it in a different context, right? You look right now when you classify a whole group of people, there are going to be a lot of innocent people who are going to be hurt by this. And this is happening in the US right now with the whole COVID-19 situation and the Chinese virus that Trump has been saying. And the attacks against Asian Americans has increased tremendously in the US. Over 2,000 cases of it just this year. Attacks against all kinds of Asians. Filipinos are getting attacked. Koreans are getting attacked. Japanese are getting attacked. And you're talking about physical attacks, abuse, slaps, kicks, you know, and all of that. And that's wrong. So if somebody attacks Asians and say that you people are the ones who are causing COVID-19, that person, if that person is a celebrity and people then respond to that in a negative way, I think that's fine. I think that you need to hold people accountable for when they indulge in hate speech. But then again, you know, that is a line that you have to draw.
Because
basically.
it is that hate speech which actually creates a bigger divide.
Yes.
And that
and
now
real
is
people
the
get hurt.
Yeah.
And real people get hurt, you know. So I think that it's one thing to overreact, and I definitely have seen an overreaction on the part of so-called woke people where they actually have turned against people who have been allies of them because they did one thing that was not correct, like oh, you didn't hire enough black people in your organization, you see, or you didn't do enough articles about black people or about, you know, whatever minority group, you see. I think that is going the other way, and you don't want that either. That's kind of overreaction
Can
to
I
that.
add something to this? I think one of the ways I look at it moving forward is that every person, whether it is calling out or that person like Xiaxue, you're talking about that moment where you were frustrated, where you use social media to put out your frustration. I think it is really important for the youth to understand that everything you put out there never goes away.
Yeah.
That is what now I'm learning, is that these people can go in and find God knows what from which
I
age.
think that
no, and that can never be erased.
Yes.
So I just want to tell you, I just want to read something that Omar Khayyam, wrote in his Wisdom. And he said, "The moving finger writes, and having written, moves on. Nor all the piety, nor all thy wit can cancel even half a line of it. Once it's there, so beware. When those fingers are hitting those boards, beware, because every word will never go away."
Yes, well, you know, in the movie The Social Network, which is about how Facebook started, it was a very interesting line in there when Mark Zuckerberg's college girlfriend said to him, you know, the internet is not written in pencil, Mark, it's written in ink. And I think that's something very important for us to remember. So that's one thing, okay? So if someone, when you're young, writes something and then people dig it up, I think that's ridiculous. I think, but in the case of someone like Xiaxue or some bloggers or some political writers, they are deliberately doing this. They are very aware of what they're doing, and they're doing this, you know, for whatever reason, whether it is to get more viewers or readers or visitors to their blog or whatever it is. I think that then you have to be more responsible, even more so, because there are a lot of people who follow you. It's not a simple case of, like, for example, me or Chris just writing something on our Facebook, you know, where, well, I'm not, but, you know, not celebrities. But if you're well known and you've got hundreds of thousands of followers, I think then there's even more of a responsibility for you.
Correct.
But I agree that if the burden of responsibility lies on people like, you know, Xiaxue, people like celebrities, people who have got
followings and power,
and to be corny. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
But that being said, something written a decade ago, being brought up, regardless of who that person is, and dug up for whatever reason or agenda is just simply wrong.
Well, again, I agree with you at a certain point, but it depends on what that thing
Yes.
said.
I mean, look,
if let's say that person had written there, I like to molest little girls, and then 10 years later you find that, you're not going to say, oh, it was 10 years ago.
No.
You would be like,
That's not a comparison to make.
wait, why not? Because there are some things that people write which are very egregious.
Sure. No, but this is a different thing altogether, because we're talking about that's pedophilia. That's something else.
Okay.
You know. And
But
that's,
there are things that people can write about which are
I mean, like,
egregious.
if a pedophile writes something 10 years ago, and today we expect that he's got past that condition, I mean, we are fools to think that, right? I mean, it's a different story. But
what about racist? Let's say, for example, someone writes 10 years ago, I fucking hate black people, or, I can't stand, whatever it is.
Sure, but that doesn't mean that 10 years later, it could be the same racist.
Of course. So the key is to find out. The key is to find out, to ask that person.
That's not like, again, it's not akin to pedophilia. So I don't think we should have people, hang on, perspective. This is about how people, they're been ideologized, about where racism is concerned, or these colored people are like that, and they live their lives that way. But there have also been people who've changed.
Sure,
right?
But do you know if the person has changed? Let's say, for example, it's a public figure, someone who's running for office, right? They wrote something 10 years ago where saying that, I don't know, let's say, they don't like a certain race or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think it's
they're
incumbent
arrogant
there.
If he had been crucified once, don't crucify him twice.
What do you mean by crucify once, though?
For example, if you're based on your example, he's been caught out before.
No, let's say he hasn't. No one called him out 10 years ago for what he wrote about.
I know it is a bit like what happened with Ivan. It's not exactly cancel culture, but because we are talking about calling out with the PAP candidate.
That one was not
cancelled.
so much what he said or wrote, it's what people said about how he behaved towards them.
But that was if you don't just depend on the written word. I am just agree with Chris that they did call him out, so called, for any of his behavior or rather misbehavior, and it did cancel him in a way, didn't it?
No, but the point basically you're making is that if someone said something 10 years ago, it does not mean that they still feel the same way today.
Yes, correct. On that context, when what you said, and and what Zuckerberg, you quoted Zuckerberg just now, that
his girlfriend
is ink, right? His girlfriend, right? That it's not what you have on the screen is ink, right? So it's there. It's always there. It will never go away. And you're right. But what I am trying to say here is this. Look, man, somebody can do this or said something 10, 15 years ago. Judge him for who he is today.
Correct.
Sure.
No, we do agree.
Of course. But let's say
don't
do
dig
agree.
it out. Don't dig it out.
But that's the key, Chris. I agree with you.
We agree.
You need to find out how is he today.
Correct. Because
but let's say today he says, I stand by what I wrote 10 years ago.
A leopard never changes its spots.
No, I mean if someone says that, and there are people, because that is the situation with Xiaxue, right?
Yeah.
She is not apologizing, she's doubling down. She's explaining maybe why she hates or hated or what didn't like Banglas.
So the point that we are making, I think, as I'm listening, and I agree, is that
she used the term Bangla. That's why I'm repeating it, basically.
The fact of the matter is that call-out culture does have its own place. Even cancel culture.
Yeah, but I don't like those terms because...
No, you don't like the terms, but we are talking about the intent. Therefore, a Harvey Weinstein, yes, cancel,
yeah,
gone,
because that is
finished.
Behavior.
Yeah,
that's
but,
just not view.
But it took time. Because when there are powerful people, it is difficult.
That wasn't behavior,
example.
that was criminal.
No.
Yeah, but I'm not saying it's criminal behavior. It wasn't just something he said.
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you about a recent incident that happened. Again, I'm just giving a reference of what happened in India. We are talking about powerful people, all right? So there was an actor called Sushant Singh Rajput who committed suicide.
Yeah.
And after that, of course, there was a lot of, there was uproar on social media. What happened? Why did this young, upcoming, talented actor have to do this? And somewhere, other actors pitched in and a conclusion was reached. And this is important because mobs then come and reach to conclusions and decisions, and that it was because of nepotism that is being carried on in the film industry in Bollywood, that there are some families that are very powerful and they do not allow outsiders to come and make a mark. It was because of that kind of nepotism, and the boy could not fight against it, that he committed suicide. Immediately there was a call to say, the people involved in this, the family names, we should ooze them out, we should cancel them. And what I'm trying to say here is, lot of conclusions, lot of jumping from point A to point B and reaching T or W or wherever, because but then again, what helps is when people get together and call this out, even if there is nepotism, next time this person would think twice before doing something. So it is also like a warning signal. It does have its own place, because it is about speaking the truth.
My opinion is that, this nepotism thing, this is the Bollywood thing, right? The guy, because of his nepotism going on in Bollywood.
No, that's the conclusion they reached.
You see, that's against something that's, how shall I put this? That's not an individual. I just don't like the idea of going after an individual. Unless, of course, if you're talking about Bill Cosby, you're talking about Harvey Weinstein, that's fine, but I'm talking about, just because this person said this, and yep, the person probably meant it too, but there's an underlying reason as far as that person is concerned, as an individual, I empathize and sympathize, with that person for having gone through what he or she had gone through before, right? And then thereby resulting in the current present behavior. But doesn't mean that the civic public, through this measure, goes out there to take someone out. That is just wrong. You want to, if it's going to be, say, for example, if it's a corporation, an organization, fine, people, because there's more than one person in that entity. But this is an individual. It is a person. And we should not take this out on a person.
What if that person, though, is running for public office? Doesn't that sort of be
if it's
clarified?
public office, yes, because it got to do with the governance and management and leadership of a country, right?
Yeah.
But this is an individual person. You know what I mean?
You're talking about?
I'm talking about Xiaxue, right? Yeah, this is an individual.
Because it started with Raeesah. So Raeesah is running for public office.
Okay, where Raeesah is concerned, right? It was something written before, maybe, I don't know. I'm speculating here. Maybe before she decided to run for public office.
Yeah.
And when you don't intend to do anything political, as an individual person, you.
But doesn't that reflect what you said about earlier, which is values, though? I mean, I'm not talking about Raeesah, but I'm talking about, let's say, for example,
Raeesah came out with an apology.
Person, yes.
So as far as I'm concerned, right, as I mentioned earlier, the basic fundamental value is forgiveness.
Yes.
So it's done. There's an apology. We move on.
Yep.
Right? We don't have to go harping on it.
Yep.
We don't go and demand for something. I don't like that, because to me, enough.
Yep.
But
I don't think anyone is actually asking her for anything. They just.
But I think it's important to understand that when you call out, there is at least an expectation of a change for the good. I mean, again, we are not talking about a hope.
Yeah.
Wanting to give people a chance to motivate themselves to change.
Yeah.
So, and then correctly, like all of us agree,
and
you say sorry, you move on.
Yeah.
You forget about
and people should learn this thing called magnanimity.
But then people, I've noticed, once they find somebody, you've said sorry, okay, thank you very much. It's like they're looking for the next victim,
Yeah.
It's
That's how I feel.
That's
how I
let's
feel
find
too.
the
Let's
next
go out
one.
there.
Yeah.
I'm a predator on the hunt. I'm looking for my next meal.
Yeah.
See,
well, I think
Chris,
that
you mentioned Facebook, right? So that's okay. I want to just, because you mentioned Facebook, it is one of those things. There are people who turn around and they will continue what they need to do, especially the media platforms, because with every cancel culture, that's where the traffic is. That's where the noise comes on your media platform. So, of course, they are going to just, stoke the fire sometimes. And that's where the youth need to understand that how are they going to be responsible? Because like Barack Obama said, that is not activism. That is digging yourself into a hole, because when you are 30 years old, 40 years old, you're a doctor, you're going to pull out something which you said
It's
when
going
you
to
were
come
16.
back and bite you in the ass.
In the ass. But okay, one other question, and I want to ask you all how you feel. So now imagine, like over here, we had one of the subjects of the city harvest, the appeal that took place, which was one of the reasons this discussion had started. Now, I'm talking...
because Raeesah was mentioning about that.
About Conky and about how the 5 former church leaders were given lower jail terms. Now, I'm just trying to understand that let's say you look at something like that and you have a point of view. And you state that point of view in a rather neutral, in a manner, because you do have, and that is the gray area. That freedom of speech that I want to use to put down what I view as maybe an unbalanced way of treating one race versus the other.
Sure.
Now, when that is taken and put away somewhere, and then the person goes into politics, that is then taken out and misconstrued. But my question is not that. My question is, what does one do if one does truly believe that something is incorrect?
I think you
do
can
you
speak
not
up,
have
but
the
it's
right
how
to
you
put
say it.
Correct. So now you're talking about, just
you must be
noting,
aware of your words, you see. Because I'll read to you her quote here again. I don't want to go too much deep into this because we're talking more about a general thing
correct.
rather than a specific one.
I'm just trying to ask you that, what about the freedom of speech?
I think that there are always limits to freedom of speech.
Yeah, but I
mean, you
always
can't
turn
libel
around and
someone,
say,
for example. If
no, you
of
can't.
speech.
But
Yeah.
you see, what happens is in the real world, one of the reasons why you've come up to a cancel culture, call out culture, is when you understand that you cannot resort to a court, you cannot go to the law officers. But heck, this is unfair. What do I resort to? I go off and write something on that social
but I don't
media.
think it's an either or though. You can be angry, you can express yourself online without saying certain things which then become inflammatory or libelous.
But it didn't start. It is how you misconstrue something.
Not necessarily,
and put
though.
it up as inflammatory. Could that happen? I mean, that's what happened.
No, because
Unless you have
I'll
already,
read to you.
It's about the intent that I'm talking. Let's say I'm sitting down to write something with an intent of wanting to put forward my view that this is truly unbalanced, unfair, not fair. I think we need to awaken society and see
Sure.
why is this
Yes,
unbalanced.
fine, yes.
So my intent is good.
Yes.
It's like that burglar who was given 4.5 years
You can't
versus...
I don't think you can just say that my intent was good, but the way I executed, then it should be okay because my intent was good. It's like
But intent, maybe my English was misconstrued. Maybe I'm not very good at
it
putting
seems
it
to
down.
be so theoretical right now.
I'm just thinking, because you see, when you talk about this burglar, the foreign app that he got, the whole topic that started was, this burglar.
What burglar are we talking about now?
Okay. Let me. He stole 1.9K from the mosque over 3 weeks, and he was given 4.5 years jail.
Okay.
Versus, just to compare, versus Kongi and church members who were given the city harvest appeal, which gave them less. It was a much less jail sentence. The jail sentence was cut to over 3.5 years. So that was then a comparison. So you have this burglar who steals so little, gets 4.5 years.
Right. So what are we
You have
talking about
somebody
now?
who takes 50 million.
But
So I'm talking about, as somebody who wants to put it down and talk to my people, to my community, and say, is this fair? Could that be then misconstrued as racist?
I don't know.
Okay, what do you think, Chris? What do you think?
I'm not going to talk about that because I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah,
There's no point. But I will want to say this.
Why is there no point?
No, there is no point because there's already been a matter of the courts. The courts have come to their own decision,
No, I'm not talking about
No, I know.
the harvest and the burglar coming to decisions. I'm talking about somebody giving their point of view where freedom of speech is concerned.
Yes, but I would just say that I agree, and I agree with you somewhat.
Thank you.
That it's got to be. Maybe I have to disagree with you sometime.
Thank you.
But it's when it comes to talking about race in Singapore, I think we got to be a little bit more mature. I mean, as a people, how we say it and how we want to communicate it has got to be done sensitively. And how society should accept it has got to be accepted maturely. You have a person who can do a lot of good for 10 years, a decade, more than a decade, do all kinds of good work for people, for communities, and all it takes is one thing to destroy it all. So it's unfortunate.
Are you talking about something specific or in general?
I'm talking in general.
Okay, because
but I think anybody who's discerning can understand what I'm talking about.
No, but you see, the thing is, I think that in the case of Xiaxue, okay, you're talking about individual here. It was not just one thing.
I'm not talking about Xiaxue.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I think that we need to look at the pattern of what people say throughout the years, not just one thing that they say, and hear the explanations as to why they said something.
All I can see is that someone who's been an activist or been fighting for inequalities, for a long time, doing the kind of work that many people don't do, and for the good of others, and one mistake, happens, and it comes out into the open. And this was done some time ago, not too long ago, but it was in the past. But that person still managed to come out and say, I'm sorry, it was wrong. And I'm not saying it was right. I am saying that we cannot then, therefore, destroy or forget or just throw under the table or under the bus all the good that one person has done.
Obvious.
So that's where I'm going with this, because I've answered what Daisy's asked, because in that little bit that I've said, that Singapore has got to get more mature when it comes to the discussion of race. Individuals who discuss about race in community must just do it a little bit more sensitively, get your point across, but think carefully how you're going to do it, right? You can still put it out there. I suppose it was how it was communicated, intention. I mean, we can only judge by what is written, how it's written, and the context of how it's happened, correct? Why I'm being very silent today, it's simply because all I can think about is that we just got to stop this going out there and just shooting people down, and what good does it do? This is not wokeism, this is separating society in communities.
Well, if you're talking about these two specific cases with Raeesah and with Xiaxue,
no, not just that. I mean, across the board.
That's obviously political.
Where call-out culture and cancel culture is
that
concerned,
doesn't
across the board.
happen a lot in Singapore, though. Actually, if you think about it, most people are quite apathetic about these
I'm
things.
glad that it doesn't, but it's starting to rear its head a little bit.
I think it's because of the elections.
Sure.
This,
of course, of course.
Yeah.
But we don't want this to continue after that, because we need to rebuild the country.
That being said, I think it is very important that people are responsible for what they write, especially what they put online.
See, look, I believe this call-out culture and the cancel culture in today's day and age, moving ahead, is here to stay. How much it happens, during which time it happens, those are semantics. And activists might even go ahead and say, yes, if used responsibly, if used sensibly, it could push for change. It could help if used as a proper tool in the proper manner. So you can't just wish it away anymore. Is what I'd like to say.
All I can say is that we cannot let this grow into something that is going to be uncontrollable, right?
That's what's happening.
And it's gonna fucking stop.
What are you referring to?
Because this call out culture, this cancel culture, this it's just gotta stop. It does nothing. It just disunites people. And this is a time in our history that we don't need that disunity.
But
Chris,
Chris,
happen in Singapore,
wait, that's why I'm saying we can't let it happen. And we can't let it grow into a movement of it or anything like that. We can't.
I don't see that happening in Singapore.
Well, you might not see that happening. That's your opinion. In my fucking opinion, it could.
Yeah.
Because and that's got to stop.
And how? Okay, so just going back to what both of you are saying, I look at it one point and I say, I have sat here and I have listened to you, Gilbert, I have listened to Chris, very strongly talking about the toxic nature of the internet, talking about the social media, appealing that that's not the way you should go. I think this is a bit like this, in the same manner, because it's not, unfortunately, going to go away. Whether it grows in Singapore, whether it rears its head only at certain strategic times to help politics, is a topic for another day. But this is a bit like this, how it's not, cannot wish it away. I think, again, the appeal is be responsible. Think about it. Once you put it down there, it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
Wrong is wrong. Two wrongs don't make a right.
No, but
Because this kind of things, as I've said this many, many times before, it's bloody bullying. Okay, like it or not, whether something, but it's for the right reasons. Bollocks, it is wrong.
But if there was a Harvey Weinstein, and if the law had not come in, and he was not convicted in the beginning, it was all about this is wrong.
Let me play back.
No, you need that.
Let me play back what I said earlier.
So-
I have said, don't attack an individual. Okay,
Harvey Weinstein is an individual.
Hey, hang on. I'm not a dumbass. Okay, at the end of the day, if some asshole goes out there and does all this rape and sexual harassment, take him out by all means. But I'm saying, don't take people out because you have your own freaking personal agenda.
Chris,
Let's
what
say,
we're
for
trying to
example-
say is
Yeah.
you're talking about after the fact. When you look at a person like Harvey Weinstein and you look at power, you look at money, it takes guts to go against him, and after the fact,
No,
he was a race.
Don't vilify me. Don't vilify me
No,
just because
so
my
you
opinion
need-
is this. I am saying here that at the end of the day, when it comes to someone like Raeesah, okay,
we're back
to
to
someone, yeah, of course, we're talking about that. We're talking about if there's personal agendas or there's political
So
agendas.
we're talking about totally different spectrums here.
What are you guys not getting here? At the end of the day, right, I am saying don't go after the individual. And the individual, if there's going to be a personal agenda just because we want to have this thing, there's an objective for me to achieve, and you go after an individual. It's just wrong. You know, and then at the end of it all, if that person has made a mistake before and that person has apologized, move on.
Yeah, we don't
but we've
disagree with
said that.
We agree.
So,
Yeah.
whatever it is, this cancel culture thing is a very fine, thin line that should not exist.
No, I disagree. You know why? Because I think people need to hold other people accountable for things that they say.
Correct.
And holding them accountable does not mean a witch hunt automatically, does not mean cancel
But
culture
it
or
has
whatever
become,
it is.
evidently,
you
there's
know?
been a lot of witch hunts going around all over the world, isn't it? Because of this culture. How are we going to find a balance? There's no policing that.
No, so
should
basically,
we
let's
actually
say,
allow it to
so
happen?
No. Then my question would be: is it then okay for people to be able to say anything they want online because there is a movement against that? You know, if you're saying we should not go after individuals, then I can write anything because that is bullying. That's online bullying. That is what we should actually be more concerned about, rather than people calling out the bullies. I'm a bully. I target people online. I say horrible things about minorities and all of that. I can get away scot-free because I'm an individual. I don't think that's right either.
I stated my case.
Yeah.
I just think it's
Yeah.
wrong. I just think it's wrong to just go out there and tekan someone, right? And then go
For
on
something that they
badgering.
say,
Well,
all right.
you know,
If they don't change their views,
if there are people who are victims of something that really bad's really happened, sure, that's different. But we're talking about, oh, this person wrote this. Okay. How did it screw you up?
well,
And then what do? You go out there and you try to get someone destroyed?
I think you're speaking about something that's different from what we're talking about here, basically.
Yeah.
Is that
Really?
That's very
This
general.
whole episode, producers, you can screw it.
Yeah.
Because I've been misunderstanding my co-host. So don't air this freaking episode, you know?
Okay,
Because it's
we
so full
can-
of shit now. Because Chris has
Alright.
been so full of freaking shit.
No, we're
about
not
this.
saying that. We're saying basically that what we're talking about, we agree with you in a lot of ways.
We're gonna call you out, you know,
But there's
for
a
being
lot
full
to
of
be
shit.
said.
Call me out. My Mac is gonna fly a particular direction.
No, but there is something to be said about people being held responsible for the things that they write online. And for people who have been aggrieved by this to then point out, hey, you said this, especially if they're running for public office.
This topic has got me hot under my cap. My underwear is on fire as well. Simply because why? I really don't like anyone bullying anyone.
But you're ignoring the fact that the person who's writing nasty stuff online is being an online bully.
Correct.
You know, and I think that people need to counter that and to stop that as well.
You know, to me, if you go after someone, right, that's also wrong. Sure, that's also bullying. I agree with you. But we shouldn't also, we can't go for eye for an eye.
No, it's not eye for an eye. I don't think it's that at all.
No, what's happening now, for example, Xiaxue, asking people, the clients, to stop, feeding her funding her as for jobs, that's worse than an eye for an eye. Because what she did was, we can see it as wrong, but it doesn't mean that someone else can do this worse shit to her.
You know, Chris, this is not if you're just talking about her, and I'm not so well versed with what she has written, but I do happen to know that they are people who do write controversial stuff more often than not.
Yes.
So
she pushes buttons deliberately.
And that is what you
Yes.
are there for.
Yes.
So again, and correctly, like what Gilbert said, you do it, and people also then start pushing.
Have a right to
and they
respond
start
and get
pushing because
angry.
it's like, you've been around for enough years. You've been saying these things, fuck this, fuck that, pushing. All right, it's my turn now. And that is what cancel culture is all about. I'm not endorsing it. I'm trying to say both sides then want to show who is more powerful. It's about bringing people down. It's about showing. So again, for me, it's all about talking to these, the social media, all these warriors, and saying, you cannot be judge, jury, and hangman. You have to be responsible. Having said that, those guys who come on in for a fight, that's what they get.
Okay, just to let you know, we're supposed to have ended the show some time ago. So let's end this damn show before my hat catches fire. My underwear is already burnt.
You better take care of what's there, just in case it catches fire. You might need it later.
Yeah, especially my wife. Okay, so anyway, thank you very much. This has been a very heated episode of, in our humble opinion, wasn't all that damn humble today, but it was an episode nonetheless.
Yes.
And there's a reason why it's a 13th episode, because this is the first time Chris has really lost his mind. According to my co-host, that I've got it all wrong. Never mind, we're going to end the show. Okay, so please stay safe. Tomorrow is polling day. Do what you're supposed to do. Vote wisely. Also, make sure that you end up go to your respective polling centers based on the timing you're supposed to go, and follow all instructions.
This is airing after polling.
I beg your pardon?
This is airing after polling.
Never mind, it's okay.
Today he's hot.
They are doing this again. Now they're
underwear.
reminding me this is being aired after polling, so I'm going to look like an absolute idiot. You see, Gilbert has done it to me.
This is call of culture. This is calling culture.
For 2 damn weeks, I got under his skin. Today he made sure he got under my damn hat, and I'm going to lose my damn hair too, because it's on fire. My underwear's already gone. Yeah. So Gilbert's gonna get me a new pair. So anyway, I gotta end this damn show, guys.
Go ahead.
Yep. So okay. So this is it. This is it for episode 13. Yep. I will be here still with these two clowns in episode 14. And who knows? It's just gonna be another big fight.
Yeah.
Again.
Namaste.
You guys gonna say goodbye?
Yes. Goodbye.
Okay.
Remember, be responsible. Namaste.
Gilbert, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.